Marvel Rivals Season 5 is bringing some huge hero buffs, which I'll be breaking down in this video, and I actually think it's the season of GOATs, as there's going to be a lot of buffs to tanks overall, as well as supports, with Gambit and Rogue being added into the game. Now, first off, there's some actually insane buffs coming for Magneto and Captain America. I think both of these are going to be the most banned characters going into Season 5, with Magneto now getting a separate cooldown for his bubble on himself and someone else. This is going to be crazy during ultimates, as he can now protect himself and his healer. As well, Captain America will be getting a 30% boost to ultimate energy, and as you know, ultimates are kind of how you win the game, so if he's able to give his healers a ultimate, or maybe even something like a Hela or a Psylocke a lot quicker, that just means that the enemy is going to go down a lot faster. So Captain America Magneto will definitely be banned often. Penny will give a bit of healing to her teammates, 15 per second and 25 bonus health. The Thing is getting a huge rework, and I'm curious to see how this is going to work, as he's now going to put a 20% damage vulnerability on enemies whenever he does his leap in, and now his Haymaker will do less main damage to like a healer, but it'll do more damage to a tank. I think this is the season of brawlers and tanks. Groot's now going to get CC reduction. Mr. Fantastic is getting crazy buffs to his overall tankiness. They undid the damage nerf that they just did to Squirrel Girl, putting it back up to 110. Wolverine, who actually has a really low usage and win rate at the moment, is getting some buffs to taking down tanks. Spider-Man is going to have a small buff to his combo, but healers are getting a lot more health as well. Storm's actually got a massive buff, increasing her overall damage buff as well. Invisible Woman, insane buff, now able to put her shield on herself to keep herself alive, giving herself the overheal, so she no longer has to turn invisible to keep herself alive. This is kind of crazy. Paired with Cloak and Dagger getting 25 extra health, this doesn't seem like a lot, but just remember, Dagger can pop down her bubble, and that's now 25% or 25 extra health that people have to remove whenever they want to get her down. So Rocket also got some changes to his overall healing, and I think Rocket's going to be another character that's banned often. Rocket's got one of the highest win rates at the current moment. I think Rocket's in a pretty fun place. Now his main attack will actually shoot and deliver projectiles quicker, so you're more likely to land your shots. Loki did get a slight buff, but I do think Loki needs a little bit more right now. He did get 25 extra health, which isn't obviously as good as Cloak and Dagger being able to bubble herself, but being able to get now more damage off on his missile, with the damage fall off going from 50 to 80%, and also direct hits on allies will do an extra 10 healing. I think he needs a little bit more somewhere, but I'm not sure where, because Loki could end up taking over the game. So Angela is getting some changes to her spear now, which she can now rush in a lot quicker. So normally when she's doing her spear attack, it moves at 16 meters per second. It'll now be 18. So this is a little bit scarier, because sometimes you're getting kidnapped by Angela, but you're not really that worried. This will make it a lot scarier. And then her ultimate ability is actually a pretty nice buff. It normally has 600 health that the enemy has to remove. Now it has 800. So this will keep people stuck here, and then you can go in and do your damage with your ult. I think this is a pretty decent buff to Angela. She could be potentially scary. Now, Captain America is actually quite interesting, because he will be a game winner, and I do think he will be a main ban in Season 5. Now, right now, he's in a good spot in Season 4.5. He does decent damage. He can annoy backline. I really like playing Captain America. If you need to stall a point or like just win, he won't get the stats, but he'll get you the W. And that's kind of what's most important. But now getting that extra ability to put 30% boost to ultimate charge efficiency, this means that if your healers are in your bubble, they're now getting basically 1.3 times as much ult charge, so they'll be able to pop their ult a lot quicker. Now, with Captain America, he leaves that little trail behind him where allies are going to run within that to get a health buff, a movement speed buff, and now that ultimate charge rate, which is crazy because you can just figure eight around the enemy like that. And if you got something like a Magic in there or a Psylocke, that's going to be absurd, because then they can get their ult quicker and just annoy the back line. So he's actually going to be a common ban, I think. I actually like the changes coming for Groot here, as Groot has always been a strong pick. Wolverine being strong makes Groot less strong, but with his wall up now 15 meters away, you're now CC, you're not going to get hit by CC. So similar thing whenever Jeff's in his swimming away form, you get that unstoppable. It means that the enemies aren't able to really do much about you. So I think this will be really good, especially if you set up the wall and go in to do your ultimate, because that's one of the hardest things as Groot is you don't have much mobility. But now not getting slowed down, I think this is actually really good for Groot. We'll have to see how that plays out, because it could mean that Wolverines can't. I think Wolverine will still obviously be a very strong counter to Groot. We'll just have to see how this plays out. Now, Hulk is getting a cool change. So his Gamma Burst new effect will now reduce his indestructible guard cooldown by 1 second. So anytime that you go bam and hit a target, that's going to mean that your bubble goes down and its cooldown by 1 second. So that's really nice, especially when you're in your ultimate Hulk form, where this is like a 1.5 second cooldown. So you can pretty much just spam that and then get your shields back for your team. I guess you can't really use your shield when you're in the big Hulk form, but yeah, you're going to get your ability to shield your teammates back a lot quicker. This is going to be the season of tanks because Magneto is also going to be pretty crazy. As his bubbles now will be able to be on separate cooldowns. This is actually a huge buff to Magneto, who I don't think needed it. He was already in a really good spot. The bubbles will now only do 200 damage, but it's not often that you pop the bubbles. So yeah, you can bubble yourself now and yourself and a teammate. Actually absurd. With his teammate update or team up with Gambit, who's going to be in every single game, I guarantee. Gambit gets a little bit of a healing buff, but also Magneto gets the sword attack. So his sword's back. It is a little bit different, but you've probably seen videos of it. It looks quite strong. I think the VFX on this are really cool. Magneto has the cards around his hands there, and then he pops up. You got these swords here, which look like they explode and have a longer range, similar to the last team up, but we'll have to see. They may not make it as strong as the Scarlet Witch team up. Because, yeah, being able to bubble yourself and your teammate, I think that's absolutely absurd. So, yeah, Magneto and Cap are going to be the top 2 bans, I think. Now, my most played hero is Penny, who's actually getting a pretty crazy buff. Now, allies in Penny's cyberwebs will have healing over time and a movement speed boost. So, this I really like. Now, as someone that plays Penny often, she needs a way to cancel her ult, first of all. But second of all, I think this is a great change because normally it's hard to keep your team on here. Sometimes even on like platinum lobbies and competitive, you got teammates that are like standing way over here and way over there dying to Black Panthers when they could be getting protected by this. So this is an incentive for your teammates to use it, which I think is amazing. Penny's still going to be really strong, one of the highest win rates. So yeah, she's great, but not everyone really likes playing Penny. I can understand that. Ball. I think Thing is going to be actually pretty scary this season because he's getting changes to his leap. So this will now do a 20% damage reduction instead of 25 whenever he jumps back to his team, which is actually going to be interesting because with this change, this means that he's actually able to apply it to multiple teammates at once. I think this will be a nice change, despite it having less overall damage protection. Sometimes you have your whole team clumped up together and you're able to jump in and spread it all to the others. That's nice. And now his new jump attack, which he recently got, now will do a 20% damage reduction to the, or make the enemy take 20% more damage. The damage went from 90 damage, which is his normal punch, down to 55. But you also now get 8% of the total health. So this is going to make it more powerful against tanks. So he'll be a great brawler against the other tanks. And he'll now get, instead of getting 50 health from doing this, he'll now get upwards of 100 based on how much damage dealt. This is actually a pretty crazy change for the thing. And I think he's going to obviously be quite strong. I think Magneto and Cap are going to be very powerful as well. All the tanks getting nice buffs, I think is going to be a good thing for the game. We'll just have to wait and see how this all plays out. Now, Hawkeye's actually getting a pretty big buff as well in terms of damage output. So whenever you aim down sights with Hawkeye, for those that don't play, you get increased damage up to the 100 there. So this is going from 75 bonus damage to 90 damage, which, yeah, you can take people out of their ultimates. It's actually pretty crazy. It does require a lot of skill. It is annoying if you go against someone that's got like aimbot with either Hela or Hawkeye, but yeah, it's going to be strong, obviously. And this, I think, is nice, too, in a sense, because a lot of healers are going to get an increase to their overall health as well, so it offsets it. Now, is Mr. Fantastic a Vanguard at this point now? So his reflective rubber can now be used during the inflated state after reaching 100 elasticity. And I'm very curious to see what that's going to look like when he's all stretched out, but also big man mode. But this also removes the 350 bonus health on his inflated state. He'll get 350 maximum health now, so they can be healed back. And a one-time heal of 350, which is removed upon exiting the inflated state. So yeah, he now actually will get full, like instead of getting the blue health whenever he goes into his maximum elasticity, he's now going to have a full health bar, which I think is actually going to be pretty freaky because, yeah, he can now get a little bit better healing from different targets. And you see there, get the blue health bar. That's actually going to be all green now, so he can be healed up in this mode. I think this is going to be scary, especially, it doesn't last long, obviously, but being able to also go into reflective rubber, I'm curious to see how that's going to change like his combos and all that. We'll just have to wait and see, but I do think Mr. Fantastic's going to be kind of in an interesting spot where he feels like a Vanguard a lot more next season. Now, Phoenix is getting some changes to her damage fall off. Whenever she's at 30 meters or longer, she'll now only have the fall off go to 75% of the max damage instead of 60%. This is actually a pretty big change because she can be annoying. Hela obviously is dominating the meta and always has been. So this makes her obviously a lot more powerful. Phoenix was in a weird place when she could do her melee techniques. Now she can't do that. So I guess making her a bit more of a poke-friendly hero is better. Now, I know a lot of people are looking forward to seeing Spider-Man get a buff because he's in a very weird spot right now where you're oftentimes just best utilizing your pull to yank people off of ledges. Because right now he's really not very great at pulling off his combo, which is now going to change. His reduced the web cluster energized time from 2.5 seconds to 2 seconds, which is actually pretty good because this is his, basically when he runs out of these, he has to peel away. So This will mean that he can be out and fighting a little bit longer and with that sustain there, but his also amazing combo damage is now increased from 60 to 70 damage. So a slight 10 damage on his uppercut, which did change how easy it is to land. Like, this previously was not very easy to land, or it was actually like really easy to land. Now it's not as, it's still a little bit challenging to land this attack, but yeah, I think that this is an okay change for Spider-Man. He's in a pretty rough shape right now. Now, Squirrel Girl just recently got a nerf, but they went ahead and undid it here, so Doreen's nutty offense gets a boost. This basically just means that her squirrel nuts now do 110 damage again instead of the 100. Not a big change, but I think this is kind of annoying as someone that plays Doctor Strange often. This just destroys his shield if someone just like literally knows one spot where they can just bounce them off a wall and cannot be touched. Yeah, Squirrel Girl can be really annoying. I sometimes ban her in competitive if I know there's another player on the other team that's really annoying with them. Now, Storm is getting a change to her damage boost from 10% to 12% for her allies, and the Goddess boost is now going from 12% to 15%. So again, Storm is a really good teammate because you can go in here, give your team a damage buff. I think her with Thing will actually be kind of freaky next season because Thing giving 20% extra damage on attacks, her now giving upwards of 15% extra damage to your teammates. If you got like a Mantis, a Black Widow who now gets healing, this could be kind of interesting. I don't think it's going to be like super crazy, but I always think that Storm is in a really good spot. She's pretty powerful, all things considered, with her buffs to her teammates and her damage. The Punisher is actually getting some nice changes. His health is going up to 300 here. The Adjudication Assault Rifle maximum fall-off at 40 meters, so long range, is now going to be increased to 85% of his base damage instead of 70. That's actually pretty great. So 15% damage buff if you're shooting at very long ranges. Great for taking out flyers. Now, his deliverance rounds have increased from 14 to 16, so whenever you pull out the shotgun, which is extremely annoying for tanks, it now has 2 extra pellets. So I'm a little bit scared with this change. Making him more tanky is not great because sometimes there's just times where a Punisher can like sneak to your back line and just shotgun people from behind, and then they're like your healers are done and then your tanks are gone. Not fun sometimes. And speaking of not fun for tanks, Wolverine's claws got deadlier against Vanguard, so this increases the damage per point of rage from 0.45 to 0.57, and also increased the damage percentage from Vicious Rampage from 0.545 to 0.57 as well, and the Feral Leap cooldown from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. I think that's going to be scary because whenever he does his kidnap attack there, yeah, goodbye tanks. Now having that on a 12-second cooldown instead of 15 will be kind of annoying. Also, his team up with Phoenix too is still pretty annoying. He's in a weird spot where sometimes, like, if there's a player that's really good with Wolverine, they're just going to completely destroy your team. You have to counter swap to deal with them. But this is going to make him a lot higher in damage. So goodbye tanks. Even though this is a tank season, I think Wolverine is going to be in an interesting spot where I almost feel like he should be, but almost I'm scared of Wolverine. Adam Warlock's doubling his movement speed in his Soul Flight, and also Karmic Revival Ultimate is getting a decreased cost by 200, and then also the ally detection radius will go up to 35 meters, so 30 meters is actually a pretty large range. You can see it whenever you pop the ult down, there's a little notifier there, and this is now just going to give your team a greater chance of getting revived, which I think is kind of a nice thing, because this is an interesting ult that can sometimes be a game winner, but yeah, he's also going to have increased movement speed when he's in his cloak form, so whenever you die, you can move to somewhere a bit more strategic, and I think that's good. Adam Warlock's been in a fun spot ever since they changed how his main fire does give him his charges back, so yeah, I think he's solid. As I mentioned, Cloak and Dagger is going to be pretty crazy because their base health is now 275, which means that when they pop down their bubble here and they're just literally face tanking you, they are now having a little bit more viability with surviving that. So Cloak and Dagger is obviously a easier character to play. I think Cloak and Dagger is really good. I love playing Cloak and Dagger, I'll be honest with you guys. So yeah, I think this is a nice change overall, but I don't think they needed it. And the strategist that won the most is Invisible Woman, who's got a crazy change. Her aura projection damage is up from 25 to 30, and the projection range is now increased from 30 meters to 35 meters. I really like this ability. It now is going to deal a little bit extra damage. Projectile speed from it is also increased by 30 meters per second, so that'll fly out faster. You can also throw it and manually activate it. I don't see a lot of people do that, but you can occupy a huge space if you know a really good spot to throw it at. The big change, though, is the force physics length. So her push is now increased 5 meters. So kind of crazy because the push is really fun to use and now got an increased range in it. But the biggest change is now whenever she uses if she has no shield on someone, she recalls it, she can place it on herself. What's great about this is if you're getting hurt, you can just pop your shield on yourself now without having to go invisible. This is going to make Invisible Woman S tier, I think. She's already got a nice buff last season. This is going to be great. I think it's a good buff. It did not need to happen, but interesting enough. Now, Loki did get an increase to his health, and now he's up to 275 instead of 250 currently. And also his magic, so it has splash damage that kind of has a really bad range, which now it used to fall off from 50% to 80%. So this, or it'll now be 80%. So this is a great increase to his damage with splash, because it's not really good when you're trying to do splash damage, especially with your clones too. It also now does 10 extra healing when you hit your teammates, so you're able to heal them a little bit better. I also think that Rocket made off like a bandit here, so BRB's cooldown is now 40 seconds, so yeah, revives are really good. It keeps constant momentum on the objective, and that's what wins games, so this is huge. And also, you can now have more repair drones out at a time. So normally you could only have 5 working at a time. Now you can have 7, and the projectile speed is now going to be boosted up to 80% or 80 meters per second. And also the main fire here is going to have a faster projectile, which is great because this can melt people at close range, but it's a little bit more tricky to land at long ranges. So I think this just gives him a bit more actual like offensiveness. If you're getting dived, you can actually hit some targets before they approach you a little bit better. Now, team ups, Blade of Khonshu, Moon Knight, and Blade. This is actually a pretty cool one. So he's getting kind of the team up that he has from the Marvel Zombies game where he has the Moon Blades. I was expecting this to come in at some point. I'm glad it is coming. Moon Knight also gets a 5% damage buff. So yeah, he's going to get his ults a lot quicker, 5% faster to be exact. So here you can see it at the end of the dash. You now get the Moon Blades chaining between people, which is going to make him kind of like Moon Knight being able to do area of effect damage. And then there's also the Cloak and Dagger and Hawkeye team, which is kind of funny. Losing his team with Luna, now getting one with Cloak and Dagger, who just got a buff, which is actually interesting. So now whenever he uses his Crush and Slash, he can actually heal his team with it, which is kind of cool. I think this is nice too, because Hawkeye's typically played behind some other characters, and being able to heal them is actually a pretty nice change. Also with Hawkeye and Black Widow also getting healing, this could be pretty cool. And it'll also apply anti-heal to enemies, so there is ways to remove it too. So Black Widow is now getting buffed off by Phoenix. She can heal her teammates with her shots around 70 per second. It removes the ability to headshot, but it does do a pretty explosive attack there, so you can't crit, but you get a little extra damage, get the cool flaming wing there. So yeah, let me know who won the most in this recent buff patch. I'm going to be honest, it's not a adjustment, it's a buff patch. I think Magneto, Captain America have some of the best buffs for tanks. The Thing got a pretty cool rework to his overall kit. But I think that the biggest winner is Invisible Woman. Being able to apply a heal to herself, as well as getting a damage buff too, is actually pretty nice. I think this is going to be the GOAT season. Tanks are in a good place. Healers in a good spot. We'll just have to wait and see how this all unveils whenever this releases. And if this video is useful, please consider hitting the subscribe button below. I hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you all in the next one.